Welcome to the Fantasy Football Healers podcast, a show that is Dynasty Fantasy Football, now infused by that's FantasyHolics.com, at FantasyHolics1. You can find me at FF Healers and Colten at FF Captain 22 on Twitter X. I'm your host, Dustin Brown, and we're talking free agents today. And you guys know who's all jazzed up about the free agency. That's right, our guy, Colten Palmer.
You're darn right I'm jazzed up. This is my favorite time of year. I love the game of Dynasty football. I love the end season. It's fun, but it brings anger along with it. You know, it brings sadness when you just lose because Bijan Robinson puts up 40 points on you. But you know what never hurts? The off season. The off season never hurts. It's just learning. It's just diving in there, just finding out what you're gonna do. It's just the best time of year, and this is the time of year that you get a leg up on everybody. You know, this is where dynasty rosters are built.
Colten, I feel like I'm a little overdressed. I thought we were going to be dressing up Australian, like we were talking last podcast. I even had the Thunder from Down Under.
But yeah, that's what I'm dressed as the Thunder Down Under, but we're trying to keep it PG-13, so I got to keep the clothes on. You know, don't want to attract too many people. Not that kind of podcast.
Although we'd probably get more viewers, Colten.
Maybe that's what we're going to start doing.
Well, I thought we were wearing more Australian clothes to get more viewers, but we'll see what happens.
Apparently, I don't know how Australians dress. You know, I thought they just wore hoodies and a hat.
I think I got her down.
You got it. You nailed it.
Colten, I think we should talk about one of the first free agents, and let's honor him because he was the Super Bowl MVP this year and a Super Bowl winner, and that's Kenny Walker. Kenneth Walker, the third.
Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Walker?
MVP Walker.
I mean, I was never wrong on Kenneth Walker. I was just always early. All we needed was just to let Zach Charbonnet get out of his way, and we finally saw the potential of Kenneth Walker as he's a free agent. Unfortunately, I think this means he's going right back to Seattle. And you know, they have like the third most amount of cap space available, so they have the money to do it. They're going to want to bring him back. I think he's going to have a nice conversation with them, though, saying, hey, if I'm doing this, I want more touches. I want more touchdowns. I mean, players love money, but they also love to pad their stats. You know, everybody's trying to make the Hall of Fame as best they can. And, you know, do I think he's a Hall of Fame running back? Absolutely not. But, you know, he's going to try to pad his stats.
But he's a Super Bowl winning MVP running back, and there's not too many of those.
First Super Bowl MVP running back since 1990 is what I heard, which is just insane. The first one in 36 years. That's crazy.
And he deserved it too. I mean, he pretty much was the whole offense.
Oh yeah, put the team on his back. You know, for Minnesota fans, there is at least one thing. Sam Darnold did win a Super Bowl, but he did not win it. Kenneth Walker won the Super Bowl. Because Sam Darnold did not do much in that game. It looked kind of pitiful, both sides of the offense. We didn't talk about that yet, so I'm just going to throw my 2 cents in on the Super Bowl here. And unfortunately, it was just a snooze fest, man. It was, it was a lot of defense and a lot of back and forth punts, and it was just, 5 field goals. Honestly, the kicker also could have been named the Super Bowl MVP, but alas, it was, 190-some-yard Kenneth Walker. But, this is why in my personal opinion, I think just the best offenses should just go to the Super Bowl. It's more entertaining for me. We need to find a way to just get the best offenses. I don't care about defense. That's fine. You can have the best defense. You win your own little award. But let's get the best offenses. Come on.
Defense wins championships,
I
Colton, and
know.
when we saw it at the Super Bowl, and I actually put some money down. I thought, there was a chance, the slightest of chances that there wouldn't be a touchdown at all in this game, and I came close. The first touchdown wasn't until the early parts of the fourth quarter, and Sam Darnold, he may not have won this. He won the Super Bowl, but he didn't like win the Super Bowl, as you were saying, but he didn't lose the Super Bowl either. Like he wasn't seeing ghosts like he was with the Jets against the Patriots, his rookie season.
Yeah, he didn't lose it for him. He just, he played like a mediocre quarterback needed to play and just got the job done. That was essentially what was happening. It was whoever. You like that? Kirk Cousins could have won the Super Bowl with that team, with how good the defense was. I think middling quarterback could have done it. It was nothing that was like, man, Sam Darnold really rocked it for him. They just needed someone that wasn't going to turn the ball over and do stupid stuff, and got the job done. So.
Absolutely. And I think you're exactly right. I think Kenneth Walker comes back. He said he wants all the touches. Well, Colton, he has every opportunity to get every little bit of a touch for a good probably 2/3 of the season, because Charbonnet is going to be out for most of the season. We said last podcast, we thought maybe Charbonnet could be out for most, if not the entire season, with recovering from injury.
Yeah, with an injury like that, he's going to have the backfield pretty much to himself for that good portion of the year, which, can't say I hate. I've got a lot of Kenneth Walker shares because I was all in on him this year, thinking that this is what he could be. Unfortunately, with him being a free agent and with the way the market is, I don't think you're getting him for anything cheap. This is the peak sale of Kenneth Walker. So unfortunately, that's the ship has sailed unless you're willing to overpay on him.
And again, I think worst case scenario, like you said, he goes back to the Seahawks, and best case scenario, he ends up on another team and has the opportunity for the lion's share. I think any which way you look at it, he's going to be a guy that you're going to want on your fantasy teams.
Absolutely.
Let's just stick with running back for right now. We can kind of bounce back and forth after that. But Breece Hall was another guy that we had brought up in our program. We both thought that a good landing spot for him would be with the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you think that the Jets are going to tag him and hold on to him, or potentially tag and trade? Or do you think the Jets are just going to let him go, being that the Jets probably number one offensive weapon on the team right now? Are they just going to let him slip through their fingers, or are they going to fight back and try and hold on to him?
You just dissed my boy Garrett Wilson like that.
I'm a big Breece Hall fan. What can I say? I like Garrett Wilson. I made some trades for him last year. I do like Garrett Wilson, and I don't know. I just think what are the Jets going to do with Breece Hall?
Just doing him dirty. I think there's a possibility it's a tag and trade. But I do think Breece Hall has made it very clear he is not playing for this team next year. He wants out. He wanted out at the deadline, and they were close to a deal, but the Jets were getting stingy and wanted more. So there is that possibility that they do tag him and just to trade him, which I find just wild. I find it wild that a team can just be like, no, we're going to keep him and just trade him away. I think that's like a dirty use of the franchise tag, but it's another way for teams to get strategic and get a little bit out of these guys.
Just don't plan ahead, Colton. They're just like, hey, we're living day by day right now, and so I could easily see them do a trade and tag. They're not an organization that any player really trusts, and it's certainly not an organization that you're going to like fine tune your skills. So, who wouldn't want to be let go or out from the Jets?
Yeah, as someone that bought Breece Hall last year, I'm super excited to just see where his landing spot is. He's one of these guys I think that is an actual attainable asset. Especially during last year, it was super easy to go out and get him. Now that we're in the offseason, free agency is lingering. With the market, he's still going to be a little bit expensive. Some people that have had him are going to be excited to see where he goes. So there still might be a higher price tag on him, but he's definitely one of those guys I think is worth throwing a shot on. Going to a team that needs a running back. Kansas City could use a running back. Minnesota is going to be in the market for a running back, I think. So either one of those places would be absolutely awesome. Anywhere, I'd be happy if Breece Hall landed anywhere that's not the Jets. That's basically it.
Well said there, Colten. Well said. I heard on the podcast that Breece Hall was going for like a 27 second. So I mean, if you want some high reward for pretty low risk, I think that's just amazing. And Kenneth Walker, yes, and Kenneth Walker was going for like a mid to late 2026 first. Right now.
I couldn't get rid of Kenneth Walker last year. I was just throwing out some trades trying to build some equity in my draft stock last year with Kenneth Walker, and I was like, hey, just you're going to be a contender. Here's Kenneth Walker, like a late first. Nah. I'm like, oh my goodness. I was like, I'm just trying to, like, in just some rebuilding teams. It was insane. But if Breece Hall is worth only a second right now, I'm going to just be tossing everything out there to these people. So that's exciting if you've actually heard that.
Yes, and during the season and towards the end of the season, I was trying to buy Kenneth Walker for that late first, and nobody was biting. So I don't think I'll be getting him for that price. Not in my leagues. Not in my leagues.
People that have Kenneth Walker, they're believers.
They are
believers, and
absolutely,
and they should have all along. Believing is seeing. Exactly.
Santa Claus.
I don't know what that quote means.
The Santa Claus.
But I get it. I understand it's from the Santa Claus. I just don't understand that. Seeing is believing. Believing is seeing. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not an elf.
That's fair.
And I never tried her hot chocolate.
This is from Australia.
I'm just from down under. What can I say?
Christmas is in the summer. It's not even real.
It's on the other side of the toilet.
It doesn't count.
Travis Etienne is he is a free agent, and he was a big part of the Jaguars offense this year. I think we were just saying, like, it'd be great to see Kenneth Walker go somewhere else or Breece Hall go somewhere else. Travis Etienne is not a guy that I'm really fully trusting going somewhere else and being that big playmaker. Although we said back in November, or at least I had said back in November that Travis Etienne to the Vikings, I thought that'd make a lot of sense. But I think he played really, really well with Lawrence there with the Jaguars, and I think it's going to be tough to trust Travis Etienne wherever he lands.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to trust. I still like him. He had a great season. I think the most opportune spot is that he sticks in Jacksonville. It's a system he knows. They have already included him in the offense. There is Bayshal Tootin there, which he could get more opportunities, but I think they'd be looking for a 1-2 punch anyways. I don't know if they would be looking to replace him at all with Bayshal, or one person's going to be one over the other. And Bayshal looked good. He had some explosiveness to him. He had some good vision, it looked like. So I think if he still lands with Jacksonville, I think Travis will be the lead back, no doubt, for next year. But that's the best spot. I don't know where else I would like him landing, because I don't know if I would trust it. Minnesota would be a decent option. I wouldn't mind him in Kansas City. We're going to talk a lot about those two teams this week, just because they're two teams that desperately need some running back help. I could see
the other being the Texans.
No, Joe Mixon's still there, so you got to remember that. So there's the potential that he comes back, and we'll see what he does. But I mean, with Travis Etienne, it's just that he's honestly a sit and wait for me. I'm not trying to buy him. If I have him, I'm not trying to sell him, just because it's more of if he sticks with the Jags, I think he's going to be worth more, because people are kind of worried about where he lands.
The Jaguars do have LaQuint Allen still in the backfield, so between him and Tootin, they have some options, but as you said, if they do move on from Travis Etienne, they will be picking up maybe a free agent running back that's available, probably one that's a little bit lower cost, and then or maybe pick one up in the draft as another option just to keep this team younger, keep the running back options a bit cheaper.
Yeah, and they can absolutely do that. But
any more?
though it started echoing in my ear.
Oh, I thought I was just waiting. I was like, is there some more?
It fried my brain. I just forgot. It's the ADHD.
Rico Dowdle, coming from the Cowboys and then going to the Panthers. He was a silent 1,000-yard rusher over the last 2 years, and he started to take on some tracks against Hubbard's role, and he looked like he was going to be the lead back, only to kind of lose it to Hubbard towards the end of the season. I don't know if the Panthers are going to be trying to pick Rico back up, but he seemed like he was a really good fit for their team, for their organization. They seem to really like him overall. Rico Dowdle, that's pretty much his home right there in Charlotte. Where do you think Rico Dowdle is going to end up?
Honestly, he's going to end up in a committee. He made like a big FUD of things and was like, I want to be the lead back somewhere. I don't want to stick here in Carolina where I'm going to be sharing touches with Chuba. And not to mention, Jonathan Brooks is coming back. People keep forgetting about Jonathan Brooks. They drafted him in the second round 2 years back. Had some ACL issues, tore his ACL and retore it. So we haven't seen him. We don't know what he can do. Everybody kept writing him off saying, his career's over, season's done. We've seen guys have ACL injuries, have been out for a while and, have injury-ridden careers and then come back. Look at J.K. Dobbins. I mean, is he one of one? Possibly. But Jonathan Brooks, we all liked him. He was the number one back out of that draft class. And, he had some qualities that we really liked in him. So I don't think he's going to land back in Carolina, especially with Brooks coming back and depending on how he looks on in training camp and everything. But Dowdle's just going to go somewhere with the committee, and that's just what it's going to be. He could go to a team like the Raiders and be the 2 for someone like Genty. He could go to, that's someone Seattle I think could take on to be Walker's 2 until Charbonnet's back. But Dowdle wants too much money, I think, is the other big problem. I think he's too big for his britches, as the old folks might say.
Well, I think he could bring his drip down to the Jaguars and then have actually Travis Etienne go up there to the Carolina Panthers, because then he'd be in the same backfield as his brother, Trevor Etienne.
Ooh, I forgot that Trevor was in the league. You're not wrong. But it's just once again dependent on if Travis is on the move.
Yep. And speaking on the move here, we got Kenny Gainwell. He's also a free agent. He played very, very well with the Steelers this year, oftentimes actually being what looked like the number one option at the running back position. Aaron Rodgers fully trusted Kenny Gainwell in the backfield. And, if Aaron Rodgers ends up coming back to the Steelers with Mike McCarthy as their coach, I could easily see Kenny Gainwell being picked up on the cheap by the Steelers.
It's funny that you bring up Kenneth Gainwell because I'm looking at my list of my top 10 free agency running backs. He's not on it. Oops. Not on it. Kenneth Gainwell, man, what an interesting revitalization of his career. Was the number one wide receiver on their team. Had the most receptions, was it? It was either most receptions or most yards. I can't remember off the tip of my head. But yeah, it was the number one target for Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, he loved Kenneth Gainwell. So keep your eye on that. I think that's going to be one of the deciding factors is if he comes back is, also if Rodgers isn't back, are we looking at the Steelers going into a rebuild finally? That's definitely someone they would buy into that they could get on the cheaper end to be, someone that they like at running back. So I think most opportune spot is landing back there with the Steelers. And then, also I think that's just his best fit and everything. So
If Aaron Rodgers ends up coming to the Minnesota Vikings, he's going to be packing his bag with Kenneth Gainwell, and we're gonna have the 1-2 punch.
oh, that would just be so gross, so gross.
You know what's kind of gross here is Najee Harris. He had the most awful offseason that a running back could potentially have, and then once he finally got his footing, then he goes off and he tears his Achilles. He's a free agent. I don't know. These Achilles injuries, they take time to heal. Oftentimes running backs can't recover very, very quickly at all. It usually takes multiple years to recover from an Achilles. And we're talking about a guy that didn't have a lot of burst to begin with. Do you think Najee Harris signs back with the Chargers, or do you think he goes and finds another spot and doesn't matter?
I don't know. I was trying to just look at his game log prior to him getting injured, and I was like, why are these numbers so low? I'm like, oh yeah, he blew his eye out first. I was like, why does he only have 1 carry, then 8 carries? I was like, oh yeah, he shot his eye out.
Get your eye out, kid.
Najee's an interesting one. I think he's someone you can toss a third at somebody, and they might move off of him just to recoup anything. Because a third, you're taking a shot in the dark anyways. At least Najee, is a reliable guy typically. Maybe after these injuries, it's going to be nothing to it. But he's definitely an interesting one to see where he falls if he goes to a team to just have as a kind of like their plotter. He's someone that I think, is definitely worth just tossing into a trade. And it's like, yeah, and just throw in Najee and I'll just, that'll tip my hat to it and whatever. It's not someone I'm actively trying to go out and buy because I think he's going to come back from this injury, but it's someone that's, if injury's ahead of him, he could absolutely get an opportunity. I mean, we've seen worse running backs get bigger opportunities than what Najee has. So, in my opinion, just a kind of a toss-in guy, and we'll see where he lands.
Sticking with injuries, J.K. Dobbins is like the well-known running back that tends to get injured year in, year out, and last year was no different. J.K. Dobbins, he was a big factor for the Broncos early in the season, and then he goes out with injury. And you said it perfectly last week. Like, if the Broncos would have had J.K. Dobbins, that could have been a deciding factor even with the backup quarterback because they had no footing and they had no plotting type of running back. They didn't have a between the tackles running back, and it cost the Broncos potentially a Super Bowl run.
It absolutely did. I know you are a massive fan of RJ Harley. But we saw what he did as a solo, I'm the only guy in the backfield player, and he ain't it. He's not that guy. I think he's a very good, a third down back, but they absolutely needed the explosiveness, the burst of J.K. Dobbins. He's a much more polished back. He's a much better complete back. I think they needed the J.K. Dobbins really bad, and Harvey just couldn't get it done. So I think he's just, I know everybody wanted him to be that guy, but I think he's just kind of the two to someone's one.
Very well said. And Tyler Algier has been the 2 to Bijan's 1. And we can't forget that Algier carried the load his rookie year and had over 1,000 yards. He's played very well the last few years with Bijan on the team, and he's taken touches away from Bijan each of the last few years. Now he's finally released from the Falcons. He's a free agent, and he can land in a spot that he could be the number 1 running back on an offense. Do you trust Tyler Algier as an RB1 in fantasy football, or are you thinking that he's still going to be more the number 2 in a role or a committee?
Honestly, he's been one of my toughest evaluations this offseason of, do I want to go out and get this guy? I'm sure people aren't really selling him for that much. He's been, like you said, the two behind Bijan this whole time. He had 1,000 yards rushing, then 683, 644, 514. So his yards have gone down consistently. But at the same time, he's gotten the goal line touches. He's had 8 touchdowns this last year. He could come in and be, I think, the 2 with potential, more 1 upside. It just all depends on where he lands. He's one of those, it's a see where he lands kind of guy. But I think I would like him. I think I'd take the shot on having Algier on my team, especially for how cheap he is.
I've been taking the shot on Algier in many leagues over the last couple of years. He's been a good flex option at times, especially if you have injuries. I had lots of injuries over the last couple of years. He was a guy that you could just plug and play, and you're going to get some points. And I think Algier, I think this is a huge opportunity for him, and he's still fairly young, Colten. And another guy that's going to be looking for opportunities is Javonte Williams, a guy that he showed that he can be a running back in the league last year with the Cowboys. He was their number 1 running back on the offense. And I got to say, I was not a believer of Javonte Williams after he had a serious knee injury. And it's taken him a few years, but here he is. He carried the load. He looked good for Dallas, and now he's a free agent. I think there's a good chance he signs back with Dallas because he played so well. I think that's the strongest outcome. But he could technically sign anywhere right now.
Yeah, I think he's going to return to Dallas. I think he liked it there. I think he liked that they gave him a shot, and he revitalized his career there. Finishes the running back 13 this year. I mean, there's some excitement if you got Javonte on your team and you just kind of held out or, bought into the dip. He looked good. Then this team is – they're not going to be able to fix their defense 100% in 1 year. So it's still a team that's going to have to put up a lot of points in order to win games, and they're going to try to win games. Jerry Jones, he just, oh God, I can't say nice things about him, but he wants to win games, but he's just bad at doing it. That's really all there is to it.
Jerry's been stepping back from making decisions for the offense and the organization, and it seems like it's been working out pretty decent outside of the Micah Parsons trade.
Thank goodness he's stepping back. I just get that man out of football. I'll be as excited as when Arthur Smith leaves, as when Jerry Jones is out of football. Oh, it'll be another little party.
Well, you brought up a running back before we aired here, and I honestly forgot that he was a free agent. That's Rachaad White. And why don't you tell us a little bit about Rachaad White and his free agency role?
Yeah, I mean, Rachaad White is a running back that was people loved. Just a few years back prior to Bucky Irving bursting on the scene, and everybody was like, Bucky Irving's gotten drafted there. I don't really care. I think Rachaad White holds the role. And I mean, Bucky Irving took it over, but Rachaad White finished back in 2023 as the running back 4. Then he finished as a running back 22. And even this year with his severely reduced workload, I mean, finished as a running back 32. Bucky was injured for a lot of that time, but they brought in Sean Tucker, which I don't know what that says about Rachaad White. And that's definitely why he is leaving Tampa Bay. He sent out a nice little tweet basically thanking him, saying, I'm moving on. 27-year-old pass-catching running back, though. Those pass-catching running backs get to live a longer life. So, he's a guy that I'm absolutely worth taking a shot on as a toss-in guy. Once again, nobody's seen Rachaad White as a super valuable asset. He's just a toss-in guy. And I'd be excited to see where he lands to be just a pass-catching running back. They have value, especially in full PPR leagues. He's going to get some looks. He had 1 year, I don't want to overquote it, but yeah, he went, 45 targets and 40 receptions just last year, 57 targets, 51 receptions, 70 targets, 64 receptions. I mean, he gets if the ball's coming his way, he's catching it. I mean, that's a extreme, huge catch percentage right there, which is insane. So I think he's going to get an opportunity somewhere to be a pass catching back, and I'll be super excited to see where he lands.
I missed out on the Bucky Irving train. I missed out on it, although I did buy into it last year on the dip while he was injured. And I was a big Rachaad White fan. I really liked Rachaad White, especially, the pass catching ability. He's more of an upright runner, so he's not a between the tackles type of runner. And when Bucky Irving was starting to really take a foothold on this offense and Rachaad White was starting to take a back seat, I was able to flip Roschon Johnson for Rachaad White. And so you were saying like Rachaad White being a low cost, low value. I'm telling you, he is. He definitely is. And granted, that trade was in 2024. There's not a lot of people that even know that Rachaad White is a free agent. And I got to say, I was one that forgot. But don't slander Sean Tucker. Don't slander Sean Tucker. He is a good running back. He was going to be projected in the second round of the NFL draft until he had a heart condition that scared everybody off, and he ended up becoming an undrafted running back that the Buccaneers were happy to bring in, and he's shown the explosive ability on the field. Every time they got into the red zone, who did they call last year? Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker was the guy. And so the Buccaneers, they're satisfied with the running back core with Bucky Irving, Sean Tucker. They might get one of these meddling free agent running backs that we're going to talk about here in just a second, or they may draft another running back just to kind of fill the role for some depth.
You and the Tucker heads, you guys just love to hype up Sean Tucker. It's going to be the off season of Sean Tucker again. I'm just waiting for it.
He's like 23 still.
It's happened the last 2 years. Oh, Sean Tucker's the guy, guys. Let's go. Happens every year.
Darn right. When Rachaad White signs somewhere else and it's just Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker in the backfield, his value is going to go
Sean way Tucker up to the moon. Here we go. Once again.
Buy him on the low, sell him on the high.
It's just ridiculous. I don't hate Sean Tucker, but my goodness, the Tucker heads just need to calm down. Calm down.
Go down under. Here's some meddling running backs that are still free agents, but again, we're in a running back class that is not very good, Colten. And so these guys that I'm talking about, they're going to, some of them are older than others, and some of them are still kind of somewhat young, but they're kind of meddling. Fantasy players don't really want these guys, but these guys may have a role on an NFL offense. And, anyone on a 53 roster is pretty much who you want on your team in fantasy. And that's Brian Robinson Jr., Jerome Ford, and Michael Carter, all of which that have had spikes in fantasy up and down, peaks and valleys, a lot of valleys. But they're going to provide some value. And if you can pick these guys up, they might be guys that are actually on your waiver wire. Jerome Ford easily could be a guy on your waiver wire. Michael Carter could be on your waiver wire. And Brian Robinson is not valued in fantasy football outside of being CMC's backup running back last year. And so these guys can land anywhere. And you need to be aware that this may happen.
You forgot one name. And that's Isaiah Pacheco, man. Someone that everybody loved just a few years back because he was such a violent runner. And I don't think Kansas City's bringing him back. He had a gnarly injury just 2 years back that people are forgetting about. Broke a bone, I believe. Was it tib and fib, or was it just tib? I can't remember. But it was gnarly.
I think it was his tibia.
I thought it was tib, which and that takes a while for people to come
weight bearing. I mean, that's your most weight-bearing lower leg bone that you have. The fibula only has like 20% of your weight, while this one has 100%.
90. It's like 90% of the weight is what I remember from college. For some reason, that's sticking in my brain. My anatomy class. And it takes a while to come back from that, and he had a rough season, and this is his first season back from it. And he looks rough, and, people are kind of down and out on him, but do I think he's going to go and be someone's one and just absolutely dominate again? No, I'm not saying that. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But just 2 years back in 2023, he was finished as the RB 15. Had 935 yards, and so 7 touchdowns. If he lands on a team where he could be a 2, he has an absolute opportunity to make that an ambiguous backfield and get some touches here and there. So just someone that you can honestly, once again, get super cheap. And you can't have enough running backs on your roster. That is like one of the big things that we should start really, really shoving down people's throats is you can't have enough running backs at all. You can't. Like, you can have plenty of tight ends. You can have too many quarterbacks, but you cannot have enough running backs.
It's funny that you brought up Pacheco, and again, he's a violent runner. And so, just coming off of this injury, he needs to have the burst and the power to push through, and he definitely did not have it this past year. And the guy that I thought you were going to say was Kareem Hunt as a free agent, because he's a free agent also. And so we got Pacheco, we got Hunt, and like that's pretty much the whole running back core from last year. I mean, they do have their previously first round pick. What's his name?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, yes.
I believe
who did nothing.
No, I believe Clyde Edwards-Helaire went to the Saints and is now in nursing school.
The Kansas City Chiefs brought him back last year near the end of the season.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. The Saints let him go, and then he came back to the Kansas City Chiefs.
I didn't realize that they had already brought him back. Yeah, he's on the practice squad as of 2 months ago. But yeah,
that's why you tune into the Fantasy Football Healers.
Did you know that? He respected his mom because she was a nurse, and he loved what she did, so he went to nursing school. Go nurses.
That's good. He should continue that arc.
Definitely should. Much better career path for him.
Speaking of arcs, we should probably get to the quarterbacks. The quarterback free agency is
abysmal.
Not terrible. It's not bad. There's a few guys. The problem is Daniel Jones is a free agent. He was playing fantastic last year for Indianapolis, and unfortunately for him in Indy, they didn't make the playoffs. He got injured, and the rest is history. But Daniel Jones is still technically a free agent, and I could still see the Colts signing him for a long-term contract, hoping that he comes back some point this year, if not in 2027. And they still have Anthony Richardson. Yes, they still have the man, Anthony Richardson, and Riley Leonard for their quarterbacks. So they might just ride that train and have Daniel Jones. If it plummets, 2027 quarterback class, Colton is way better than this year. So they could get a rookie quarterback behind Daniel Jones, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Yeah, then that's all I have to say about that. No, it's they're going to sign Daniel Jones. It's going to happen. The only thing I could see stopping it is the fact that both the GM and the head coach are in the hot seat, like real bad. So if they don't produce something this year, then they could definitely both be out. So, if they're looking for something now, maybe they don't go after Daniel Jones and they try to sign someone like, I'm going to just throw it out there because we're going to talk about him in a second. But maybe
Aaron Rodgers.
Go and try to sign Malik Willis. Aaron Rodgers.
Well, I thought they were going to sign Aaron Rodgers. They like those old crusty quarterbacks there in Indy.
They'll bring in Russell Wilson then. Maybe Marcus Mariota.
Russell Wilson, he is another. Both of which are free agents. Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. They could bring them both in. It could be like the Giants all over again. Just bring in whatever free agent that we have available, and you got your 1, 2, 3, 4 punch at the quarterback position.
That is so gross. Just to even be, I don't know what the Colts are honestly they're just in a garbage position right now, being head coach and GM. You got Daniel Jones who you want to sign, but you don't know if he's even returning this year. Even if he does return, is he going to have the burst that he had before? What a crappy position to try to be in and to navigate. Do you screw over the franchise to keep your job, or do you try to save the franchise and lose your job? I don't know. I don't know. Daniel Jones is someone at least worth stashing, but he's going to be
I think they
expensive.
signed Daniel Jones, and then they probably need to sign one of the remaining free agent quarterbacks on top of it, whether it be a 1-year, 2-year contract, something a little bit shorter term. And you brought up the name that probably is the most exciting name on the list, and that's Malik Willis. Tell us a little bit more about your thoughts about Malik Willis, the quarterback who was once drafted out of Liberty in the 3rd round to the Titans, and then ended up making his journey to the Packers and actually playing quite well. And I'd say even better than Love at times when he was taking over the backfield.
Yeah, I mean, people absolutely loved Malik Willis when they were coming out. He was talked about. I was like, just wait until this guy develops. Never got the opportunity to develop there in Tennessee, and just ended up going to the Packers in free agency. And I mean, honestly, he revitalized his career. Had a couple of games where he had to fill in for Love and looked good doing it against Baltimore. He was the quarterback 3 on the week this year. And the year prior, he filled in for Love at the beginning of the season when Love had, I think, a high ankle sprain or something. Came in a quarterback 20, not great, but then the next game he was the quarterback 6 against Tennessee. I mean, he's beaten up on a garbage team there, but still looked good while doing it, and I think he's going to get the opportunity to come in and at least compete to be the starter. We touched on him, I mean, probably a couple months back now as the season was coming to a close for guys to keep an eye on, and I still stand with that. I think he'll get the opportunity to compete. I don't think he'll just be handed a starter spot. I know a lot of people believe that he will be just handed over a starter spot, but my opinion, I think he's better off competing and having some competition there.
Where do you think he's going to end up, Colton?
I don't know. I was trying to think about some decent landing spots for him, but I could absolutely, and we'll talk about these two guys in a little bit. I could see him going to maybe like an Arizona or going to the Dolphins to try to fill in the spot of Tua or Kyler, as we both believe that they are moving on from the quarterbacks they have there.
I think that's the likelihood scenario also. And why not go from one LaFleur to the next LaFleur down there in Arizona? That makes a lot of sense. And then Kyler Murray, he's the scrambling type of quarterback that they've had for a number of years as far as their system goes and whatnot. And, that's obviously hasn't worked out. But who else is a mobile dual threat quarterback? Malik Willis. And Tua was at one time, he was a dual threat quarterback before all the head injuries. And, does the Dolphins take a shot on a guy like Malik Willis? And here's the thing again, like if it doesn't work out, it's okay, because 2027 has a number of rookie quarterbacks available that they can reload the chamber, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, that's all good points, and it'll be exciting to see where he lands. But I don't think you're getting him on the cheap when it comes to the market. A lot of people like him and liked what he did in Green Bay. So it's a high-risk buy, in my opinion, for someone that may or may not pan out because someone's going to overvalue him.
And if you do have Malik Willis and you are you're not a believer in him, like you can sell him fairly high right now. I've heard as high as a late 1st-round pick in some spots, a 2nd-round pick easily in leagues. And in one of my leagues, he went so cheap, Colton. Someone paid like a 4th and like a throw-in guy for Malik Willis. And we're like, what are you doing? Like, this guy's going to have a chance to start. And he's obviously not listening to the fantasy football healers. And it just blew me away. And I'm like, why wasn't I the guy that offered something of substance for him in the offseason? And I missed out. And so I'm angry at myself.
just throwing trash at walls, trying to see if it sticks. Sometimes it does, man. Sometimes it does.
Exactly. Marcus Mariota was a guy that I thought should have been out of the league for years, only for him to play probably his best season of NFL football in his career with the Washington Commanders. And now he's a free agent. He can find and step on to be the starter, maybe in a role that they're looking for a bridge quarterback.
Yeah, played relatively decent. He was an absolute great handcuff to kind of have there. Me being a Jaden Daniels owner, I actually had Mariota in both of the leagues that I have Daniels in. And I mean, I was able to plug him in and at least get relatively okay numbers. There were some weeks that definitely were, but for the most
You're
part,
going to have that with a backup. You're going to have that with a backup.
Right. For the most part, it was okay. But I think that's where he's going to go once again. He's just going to be a high-end insurance kind of guy, and someone that you can probably pick up on the waiver wires. That's where I got him. So someone that you can just stash away, and once people are done with them, they'll just shoo them off again. But definitely some high-value backup there.
Speaking of stashes, I stashed this guy before the season ended, and it's Mitch Trubisky. And I keep bringing him up, Colten. Yes, I keep bringing him up because I think Mitch Trubisky has a shot of being the Minnesota Vikings' next quarterback to compete with J.J. McCarthy here in this 2026 season. Mitch Trubisky, every time he had the opportunity to step in when Josh Allen was injured, he was throwing haymakers and he was making plays, and he played very well. You know, he's a guy that was drafted by the Bears. He was known for being that one read type of quarterback and not going through his progression. Well, in Minnesota especially, like, you only have one read anyway. Like, just toss the ball to Jefferson. Just toss it to Jefferson. And, you know, we've got playmakers right now that can make plays outside of Jefferson too. So have an offensive line that's been increased over the last year. We can continue to build that. And then we have the defense that's been really building. This is a defensive rookie class. So all we need is a guy that can just manage the game in Minnesota for us to compete. And why not Mitch Trubisky?
He did have he finished as the quarterback one when he played a full game in place of Josh Allen. Sorry, not the full place. He did miss the first snap. Missed out on that. Josh Allen wanted to keep his record going of most starts in a row, so he missed out on the first snap. So he missed the first snap.
That's so lame. That's so lame.
But the problem I see with it is this: it was against the Jets, and they are the first team in NFL history to not have an interception all year long. So using that game as like the piece that's like, Trubisky played a really good game. I'm like, I think I could have played a good game against the Jets, honestly. I think I could have done it. But
can't put that against Trubisky. I'm like, you would expect him to play well against a bad team. And not only did he play well, he played as the number one quarterback for that week, Colten.
You're not wrong.
He met the expectations and more.
And he didn't give them an interception. So just what a little tip to the hat on that one. He's definitely someone that can come in. He's like a Mariota, in my opinion, though. Just in how I value him, he's a high-valued handcuff guy. You know, depending on where he goes, whether it's Minnesota, whether he heads up to, over to Denver or something. You know, he's somebody I could absolutely see just having a high-value second-hand guy that can just kind of get the job done. Honestly, I think that would be a great landing spot is Denver. Just now saying that out loud, with Bo Nix getting hurt, I think that wouldn't be too bad of a spot. Denver needs a higher quality of a backup. With Trubisky, are we talking about Denver in the Super Bowl? Possibly.
Good teams have good backup options.
Yeah.
You brought up a great point. Good teams have great backup options. If Trubisky's not a starter, like he's a fantastic backup that you're going to have and you're going to trust. And I'm going to bring it up again, Colten. Mitch Trubisky is the only quarterback in NFL history that's thrown for over 10,000 yards, I believe it is, and has no pick six.
That's impressive. Good for him.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's talent there. There's talent. And another guy that has talent is George Pickens. George Pickens, he played tremendously with the Cowboys this past year. The Cowboys lost their entire defense. They became the Bengals of the NFC, and they were just tossing the ball around like crazy between Pickens and Lamb. And George Pickens is now a free agent. There's a shot that he's picked up by the tag by the Cowboys, or maybe signs a contract. But it hasn't happened yet. So what do you think is going to happen, Colten?
There's many rumors swirling around this one because he is the premier wide receiver of this free agency class. This is a very weak wide receiver free agency class. So much to the point I really don't have a lot to say about all of them, except for Pickens. And what I've been hearing is that on a number of pods now is that the George Pickens is going to be tagged and potentially traded. So there's another thing with one of these scummy teams just tagging guys to trade them, which I absolutely understand. You're trying to get value out of a guy that you kind of really did well for your team, and I would love to see him return to Dallas. I think that's my favorite landing spot for him because it's just such a high-powered offense. I'd rather not see him go to a struggling team where he's going to be the one, but the team struggles, so it's not that great anyways. But he's just one of those guys that it's a kind of wait and see. He's going to be really expensive to try and get market-wise anyways. So
Pickens lovers, they absolutely love him, and he's a guy that's really hard to trade for, especially after this year. Before this year, you could have got him pretty easy because he underexceeded the expectations as a number one option. And Pickens, his head kind of always tends to get in the way when he was with the Steelers. And the Steelers are a organization that is known for getting rid of their wide receivers when they're supposed to and before the descent happens. And this might have been a guy that got away from the Steelers because he played very well. He's still quite young. And I think the best case scenario is that he's re-signed, whether it's a tag or a contract with the Cowboys. I think that's the number one option for Pickens.
Yeah, I mean, finished the wide receiver 6 this year, which is just crazy that he did that with CD Lamb there. So I think that's the best landing spot. That you're right.
I agree with you 100%. I think it's a weak free agent class for the rest of these wide receivers. I have like only 3 guys pretty much written down from this free agency, and I think one of them is easily going to re-sign with his team, and that's Mike Evans. He's a guy that he's Tampa Bay blood, and he's planning to stick there until he retires. So I don't think there's much to talk about there. But the other 2, I think, have some I don't even know if I want to say interest, but they're guys that are well known in the league that can make plays at times, and that's Alec Pierce and that's Wan'Dale Robinson with the Giants.
Your list looks very different from mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I went through my top 10 free agent receivers. So I've got a little bit longer list, but above him, I mean, and the one that everybody keeps talking about is Alec Pierce and Rashid Shaheed. I kind of forgot Wan'Dale was a free agent, so that's great that you brought him up. I have him on my list, but I just forgot it kind of about him because everybody's talking about Alec Pierce and Rashid Shaheed, who I think are very similar wide receivers. They're both quick, deep threats. Rashid has the return ability, so I think he has the upper hand on Pierce when it comes to that with his special teams plays. So I think he'll be more touted for NFL teams. But two guys that, once again, they're like boom bust players. If they get the deep ball, it's going to be awesome. But if they are not getting those high value targets and coming down with them, it's going to be kind of a bust situation. Um, you know, Rashid Shaheed could very well return to Seattle. He had some massive plays for them on the special teams, which really helped the team out as well. So I could see him returning and, getting a low contract there. But Pierce is the one that I'm just confused by. Didn't really have a breakout season until this year and kind of really blew up this year. But prior to that, he was really just the deep ball, or like he was a guy that could get contested catches. My cat has joined the chat. Hello to everybody. Say hi, Stitch. All right. But yeah, I mean, Alec Pierce is a confusing one to me. Everybody's like, Alec Pierce. I'm like, I'm a Colts fan, and I'm just like, Alec Pierce. I actually dropped him in my dynasty leagues a couple years back now because he just wasn't doing anything. And he was a boom bust, and I never knew when to play him. And I think whatever team he goes to, he's going to be a situation of, I don't know when to play this guy. So, but that's all I got about those two. Other wide receivers that I have on my list, Deebo Samuel.
Can I say one thing?
Absolutely.
Shaheed?
Yes.
I mean, Kubiak just signed as the head coach with the Raiders. It's official now. He went from the Super Bowl straight to Vegas. And, I mean, you got to imagine that Kubiak knows what Shaheed has in the special teams and as a wide receiver, probably 2 or 3. So I could easily see the Raiders actually looking to sign Shaheed as an option, because they don't have any options with their wide receivers right now. They're an offense and a defense and an entire organization that is in a rebuild position, and Shaheed is still pretty young. So they need all the playmakers they can get, and Shaheed, if they can make some plays on special teams, put their team in better situations, maybe score a time or two on the special teams, it'll put the Raiders in a better spot.
Yeah. Other names I have, Wandale's actually, I'll talk about him real quick since you brought his name up. He's definitely an interesting player. I think the best landing spot is he remains with the Giants, though. He's kind of like a gadgety player, He's a smaller slot receiver that gets just like a high volume targets. Best case scenario for him is he returns to the Giants and remains under his role that he has there currently. Going somewhere else, maybe he gets that slot spot as well, and they like to use him like that. But I think sticking with Jackson Dart and everything will be, probably best option for him. Some other wild names I just have on this list: Deebo Samuel, Juwan Jennings, Romeo Doubs is a free agent, Christian Kirk, free agent, and then I have on there Keenan Allen as well, because he's technically a free agent. The ghost of Keenan Allen.
And he only wants to be a Charger.
Yeah.
He's made that very clear. So he's either a Charger or he retires.
Yeah. I think the more interesting one I have on this list is Christian Kirk. I think Romeo Doubs stays with Green Bay, but Christian Kirk is definitely, he's a veteran receiver that could go to a team that just needs a little bit of leadership, a nice veteran presence for a team. And, he has been reliable. Like when the Texans needed him this year, he kind of showed up for him. So it's just maybe CJ Stroud isn't that good. Little diss.
Well, if I recall, you were dissing on Christian Kirk about an episode or two ago also. And then from that podcast, he ended up being like the wide receiver 1 for the Texans going forward. And basically, he's talked you back into thinking that he's somewhat of a decent free agent.
Yeah, I have him on a team, and I just never knew. I couldn't trust to play him. And, after watching him in that game, he looked good. I really think it could be CJ Stroud is just not playing well and not playing up to par. I know we had talked about Stroud at one point. We're like, we're waiting. He's a little too high for our taste. We were right, because he ended up being just
Davis Mills, remember how many games he came in and he played really well for the Texans, and he was one of the reasons outside of the defense that helped get the Texans to the playoffs.
Yeah, and maybe could have helped him win that playoff game, but oof. Anyways, I digress.
That Nico Collins' health.
It's not wrong.
That's another problem there. But I think we need to we'll end the show with some tight end talk, and I'll have you bring forth some of the tight ends.
Yeah. All right. So I mean the primary tight end that everybody wants to have is Kyle Pitts, obviously. Especially coming off that big game. He has the potential. It's all there. We saw it come to fruition there in just that one game, and I think somebody that teams are going to be definitely interested in. My guess is he'll listen to some things, but overall, I think he returns to Atlanta. Unfortunately for Kyle Pitts owners, but with a new regime in there, maybe he'll finally be utilized in a way that he could be helpful for your fantasy team or to the team in general. But I think he returns to Atlanta, and I think that's honestly the best landing spot at the same time, especially with the change of regime. But he's going to be a tough one once again, because if people have had him for this long, they're going to keep hanging on. He's going to be expensive.
Tight ends, it really depends on scheme and opportunity. And right now in Atlanta, they would have both, because we've seen Kevin Stefanski have multiple tight ends on the field and provide a number of targets to the tight ends. And, oh, by the way, they don't have another wide receiver of consequence after London. And so he has opportunity and he's got scheme. And so I'm right there with you. I think the best place for him to stay is actually with the Falcons. And just sticking with Stefanski, David Njoku is also a free agent. And I was kind of joking, but honest at the same time. I really could see them bringing in David Njoku as another receiving threat for the Falcons, matching up with Pitts as a dual tight end threat, and then with London. We're seeing more teams go with multiple tight ends sets, and I don't think the Falcons are going to be any different this year with Stefanski.
Yeah, Njoku is my number 2 on this list of. Man, he's a freak athlete. And he's already announced that he's not coming back to the Browns, that he's going to be going away. So he'll be finding a new team, and he's one that I think you can absolutely go and get on the cheap. He had an injury-ridden season. Everybody saw Harold Fannin take over his role, so people are going to be down on Njoku. So I think he's someone you can go and get as a cheap asset that we saw break out just a few years back and just do absolutely dominant things. And people were talking about him like he's the next guy for tight end. Like, oh, this is the guy you want to have. Did you see what he did? Super freak athlete. I mean, he could go to Atlanta. That wouldn't be my favorite landing place, but I would like to see him go and get the opportunity to be a pass-catching tight end. But he can also block too, so he has that dual functionality, Oh, I'd hate to see it. I'd hate to see him go to like something like the Jets or something, man. But he's going to go somewhere where he can be a pass catching part of the offense. And gosh darn it. I would hate to see it, but it's a possibility.
I mean, there's not a lot of spots that are open right now with the tight ends. TJ Hawkinson isn't technically a free agent, but the Minnesota Vikings are over the cap by $36 million. And there's a good chance that they could let Hawkinson go. And if that happens, that opens up a spot for the Vikings. But I think Njoku is going to ask for too much money. And so that doesn't really counterbalance. It doesn't really fit in. And they're already paying Josh Oliver like $36 million. And we got a couple of rookies last year that can kind of fill in, that did okay, did fine, and they can probably find another cheap option at the tight end position. So I don't really see a lot of openings for the tight ends. There's another big name out here, and that's Isaiah Likely, and it's not bloody likely that he's going to make it back to the Ravens. Where do you think he's going to end up?
Once again, man, this tight end class is difficult to predict where they're going to end up, just because there's not a lot of places for them to land, and we saw a good rookie tight end class come out. I mean, we saw the emergence of Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, Aronde Gadsden. Gunnar Helm started there in Tennessee to break out towards the end of the year. Harold Fannin. I mean, we saw a lot of tight ends of this rookie class that ate up some of those spots. So, where are they going to go? I mean,
Commanders?
Where are they going to go and be a valuable dynasty asset too is also what I'm trying to think of. And I just don't know. Commanders could. Ben Sinnott didn't really do much with the opportunity ahead of him.
Really hurt.
Zach Ertz got really hurt, so Commanders could be in. They need pass catchers. That'd be a great spot, I think, for Njoku or Likely, either one. I do like that. Good spot. Good spot, Dustin.
And then the last tight end that I have on my list, and you might have a few others, is Travis Kelce's technically a free agent. I mean, he's either going to retire or he's coming back, and I'm pretty sure he said that he's planning on coming back for one more round of the Kansas City dynasty push, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I do have a couple others just to keep in mind. Dallas Goedert had like the highest touchdowns marks he's ever had this year, which is just wild to say because A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith were ridiculously disappointed, and Dallas Goedert was like way up on the tight end boards.
I like Dallas Goedert. I've got a football card, his rookie card. I've got it signed, and I've always been a fan.
So stupid. He caught 11 touchdowns.
Valuable tight end. He's when healthy, he is a valuable tight end.
So silly. Another one that everybody really liked, huge freak athlete, had some high upside to him. Chikakonkwo, man. Somebody that's just kind of been lost to the system as well. And is it Chikakonkwo or is it that his career's been in Tennessee? Who knows? He'd be another kind of exciting one to just snag for whatever reason if you're in a tight end premium league or, just need a little bit of depth at the position, see where he lands. I'm sure you can get him ridiculously cheap at this point because nobody cares about Chikakonkwo, but he does have some athleticism and high upside to him depending on where he lands. Other names just to note, I'm not really going to talk about them, but Kate Otten is out there. Darren Waller is out there. Noah Fant. And then there is Zach Ertz on the list, but he is also the shell of Zach Ertz.
I think I heard you say a name that caught my interest here.
In life, it's hard to love.
I had to let it play out long enough to get the who's in there. That's your favorite part.
The Owls, man.
Darren Waller is a free agent, which means that Miami doesn't really have a lot of options with the tight ends. I'd have to look back and see if is Greg Dulcich, is he still with the team or not? Otherwise, they literally don't have a tight end with Miami, and they're in a tizzy right there and with the Dolphins. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know if they're going to continue with Tua, if they're going to move on from Tua. They got a huge contract for him. They don't have, what's happening with Tyreek Hill. The tight end situation, and it goes on, and this organization just doesn't have a lot of direction. And Darren Waller, he another guy that doesn't have a lot of direction. He doesn't know if he's retiring or coming out of retirement or whether he's football ready to play. And I could see him retiring again. What do you think, Colten?
I could see him retiring again. I mean, he did have some solid play when he was healthy and out there. He was part of the reason the Dolphins could move the ball. So he showed that he still had some of it. He wasn't obviously the Waller of old, but still had some of it, whatever it is. But I could see him retiring once again. Just he came out, got a little money, and I could see him going back, or maybe maybe he returns for one more season just to make a little extra money, go somewhere.
Probably got enough to, make another album.
Somebody sign this man, please, so we don't have to listen to another song.
It's hard to be free. It's hard to give all of your soul.
He even says it. It's hard to be free.
After he was picked up, I was able to pick him up off the waiver wire. I was able to sell him for a 2026 second in a league, and Tyler Higbee, who is also a free agent. I believe Tyler Higbee is a free agent with the Rams. Possibly. And so you know what that means.
I don't. What does that mean?
Winter Soldier.
Oh, okay.
Tyler Higbee's free. The Winter Soldier steps right in.
I thought you were like, it's time to buy Tyler. I thought you were about to say it's time to buy Tyler Higbee because he's gonna be that guy.
Oh yeah, I mean Tyler Higbee.
I'm like, okay.
He's had flat. He hasn't fully come back from injury yet.
He's all right. But I was like, I don't know why you're that excited about him.
A second in Tyler Higbee though for Darren Waller, like that's a pretty good pickup in a 2 tight end league. I was excited about it.
It's not bad. Yeah. It's not bad.
Yeah. Well, that's our show here, Colton. We got through free agents. Unless you have any other free agents that you have in mind here, we got through a laundry list of free agents. And, free agency, it is on March 11th. So we're about a month ahead, but we've got the combine coming up in 2 weeks. These athletes at the NFL Combine, they're going to show their stuff. They're going to show their athleticism. They're going to boost or decline their draft stock. And then free agency hits, and it hits hard and it hits fast because nobody waits until March 11th. You're hearing rumors of a week early about where these free agents are going to be landing because of the tampering period and all this underground writing and scripture that they end up having there with the NFL free agency period. And, as that starts to unwind here at the Fantasy Football Healers, we're going to bring you the news. We're going to let you know where are these players actually landing. And if you have any insights, if you have any players that you want to talk about in the meantime, please hit us up at FF Healers and at FF Captain 22 on Twitter X. And again, we are fused now with the FantasyHolics. And so I did write an article recently about the 2 players that I thought were a Ja'Cory Krosky merit archetype coming out of the Shrine Bowl. And so that should be posted here later today on February 15th. And you can find that at the FantasyHolics.com website. And with that, Colton, that's our show.
It was a fun one.
I mean, you always like the free agency period.
Free agency is my favorite time of year. It's like Christmas for me when March 11th hits. It's just gives me chills. I love it. It's just my phone's blowing up from all the news breaking. Free agency. It's the greatest time of the year.
You like that? You like that?
I do like it. And with that, we are out. Salud.